welcome back to Cowboy Bros. Jason and I are fresh off the Major League Baseball at the halfway mark segment. Coming up next, we're going to talk about having bigger fish to fry, both on this show and on this segment. And we're referencing an article from NPR. A United States judge rules that Subway can be sued over its 100% tuna claim. Federal judge says a woman's lawsuit against Subway can move forward, refusing the restaurant chain's request to dismiss the suit that alleges its tuna sandwiches are partially or wholly lack tuna. The plaintiff stated that Subway misled her and other consumers by saying that sandwiches and other products contain tuna and 100% tuna. So the lawsuit cited a marine biologist who analyzed 20 samples of tuna offerings from 20 different Subway restaurants and found no detectable tuna DNA whatsoever in 19 samples. But Amin says the plaintiff, the samples did contain other types of animal DNA, such as from chicken and pork. Subway asked United States District Judge John Tiger to dismiss the case, saying in part the tuna sandwich routinely includes other ingredients such as mayonnaise, which contains eggs. Subway also says a reasonable consumer watching a sandwich artist prepare their order would recognize that there's a chance for cross-contact between various ingredients. But the judge argued that the lawsuit should continue, saying the facts at the heart of the case aren't settled. He noted some of the allegations refer to ingredients that a reasonable consumer would not reasonably expect to find in a tuna product. As that quote suggests, the case centers on what consumers expect when they order a tuna sandwich. The word tuna appears 244 times in the plaintiff's 28-page amended complaint. So yeah, they might get tuned up for some false advertising on this one, because that's what the plaintiff is alleging. So now, Jason, now that I've read off all that, what are some of your initial thoughts about big? We got big oil, and now we got big tuna.
As I'm going to assume here, you probably go to Subway more than I do, so I actually want to hear your thoughts about this before I go into mine.
I haven't been to Subway this year. I haven't been to Subway in the past year. Now, in college, that's not even college. I want to say definitely during my time downstate Illinois, I was big into the Subway game, big into the subs, all that. I know that there's definitely some consternation over the whole 100% tuna deal. And I feel like, honestly, what I really want to do is I actually want to look at the complaint itself, because I don't even know if I feel like this person was truly damaged from this. You know, I mean, the pull quote is 100% real wild caught tuna, and so I'm curious about the 20 different Subway restaurants, and who's
also,
and also I'm also curious, who did they get to be the marine biologist? Did they get the Deep from The Boys? Because that would have been 10 times funnier. If that's who actually did the analysis, and they had the Deep from The Boys just actually show up in court and shit, and then say, actually, there's no tuna here.
Excellent reference, sir, given what we're going to talk about in segment 3. But very nice, Terrence, very nice. But so that's actually kind of a good mindset to have when it comes to questioning everything. Not saying that Subway's in the right here, or the plaintiffs in the case are in the right, but definitely question everything, like the testing. And that's really that's really what Subway's response is to this. So if like the DNA testing done isn't going to be accurate, because the DNA test isn't going to produce the best results because the tuna itself has been cooked or processed. So that's why you're not going to find any DNA test for resulting in tuna. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's not tuna. It just means that it's been too processed and too cooked for it to be determined. Now, obviously, I don't eat at Subway. Obviously, I used to. And like the article mentions, that we all know that yes, there's a chance for cross contamination, which may result in, hey, you finding chicken and pork in your tuna. But what I would also say to this, though, is that, okay, even if the DNA testing, if I were to believe it wasn't correct, I would want to side with Subway on this. But then I'd still be kind of be wondering, is it still 100% tuna if it's processed? Like, in what way is it processed? Is it still tuna? Well, yeah, it is, but is it still 100% tuna? Or is it now 70% tuna mixed with other stuff? Those are kind of things I'd be questioning. But I think this kind of opens the door for a bigger picture here of when it comes to when you go to restaurants, especially fast service or fast food restaurants, knowing what the hell you're eating, right? What's in these ingredients? It's not just tuna. It's not just the veggies you put on there, not just the sauces. What's in all this stuff? What's all the stuff made of? Now, obviously, a lot of people probably don't care, and that is what it is. But this should open people's eyes up. Okay, what's in this stuff that I'm getting from Subway, Burger King, Applebee's, whatever restaurant you want to name? Pick one. Doesn't matter. Okay, now I got to ask you, what's a big laugh and smile for?
All of it. All of it.
What? Let's hear it.
I listen. Here's what I'm going to tell you, and instead of you fixating on why I'm chuckling, that's between me and Jesus. What I'm going to tell you is that now that we've kind of sourced this out a little bit and we've discussed it, I'm I'm more likely to side with someone that says if it makes sense to me from a scientific perspective, if clearly it's not a fish in the wild anymore at that point, right? Uh, of course, it's not going to be 100% tuna, but that doesn't mean that it didn't originate from you know uh you know some sort of other fish.
That's not tuna, potentially, right?
That's what I'm saying. That there's a long
Mm-hmm.
you got to go evil Knievel, okay? You got to take a big leap to say, okay, clearly it is processed at some point. That's how that's how it ends up at many places that serve you food. Clearly, it's been modified in some way. That doesn't mean that it is not what they said it was.
But to what you just said, though, that it might not be all the way still tuna again, but did not go against the fact of what they're saying that it's 100% tuna, which is the point of potential false advertisement. Now, I will say to which I'm assuming you disagree based off the look on your face, which I'm sure you're going to go into, but to your point about was this person really damaged from this? We don't know. Now we say damage, I'm guessing you mean more from a physical standpoint. Is that correct?
I'm talking about, does this person actually have a real issue, or are they just ambulance chasing? That's the question. Also, um, I read a little bit more into this while we've been discussing this, and the plaintiff that we mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
there was a second plaintiff,
Yep.
and they already were dismissed from this suit because they hadn't confirmed whether or not they had paid for a tuna sandwich in the first place. So
Yeah, I saw that too. That's correct. Now, correct, they had to prove it, which you know how they unless they had the receipt. I'm not sure how they're going to do that. But now I agree in the court of law this may not mean anything, but just from a public perception side of things, or a me and you perception kind of things, we can probably reasonably assume that they probably tasted and ate a tuna sandwich from Subway. Would you not agree?
I mean, it doesn't matter if I agree.
Well, I'm asking you.
I'm stating I care more about what the judge already said than what my personal opinion is right at this point. Um, so it
Well,
seems like
the judge said the lawsuit can continue. So
right the
there you go.
entire lawsuit, but
Yeah.
there's already a few holes in this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that just means that due process or what have you is
Right.
going to continue. I don't even know what the official legal term for that is. But the Times, they clearly had a certain angle on that, uh, and it seems like the subway is coming back saying, "Hey, there's a legitimate reason why you can't even use this sort of test because clearly it's been doctored up, pun intended, uh, on its way to a countertop to be served."
Which still goes to my point that it's not 100% tuna. But what I found in the NPR article mentioned this, but apparently it's got so much attention in the media and social media that Subway had to make its own website called subwaytunafacts.com. I saw that and kind of chuckled a little bit, like this got so far they had to create a website. So like, let me go to this thing and check it out. And
Yeah,
it's
I'm
legit.
on it now. I'm on it now.
Yeah, yeah, it's a legit page. It's like they're telling you, hey, look, this is the myth, this is the truth. Here's our tuna Q&A. It's almost like we should call this segment Tuna Gate. But yeah, mark that down, bro. But
Ridiculous.
Don't shake your head at my idea, sir.
Yeah, you listen. You already yucked my yum earlier, so I don't want to hear it.
Hey,
Uh,
I said I take it under advisement, okay?
yeah,
But but yeah, no, honestly, the information on this page, I will say, definitely very interesting. Obviously, you have to keep in mind it's from their side of things, so you got to keep that with a grain of salt as well. But at the same time, they do seem to address a lot of the points here. Right here at the very top, tuna fact check myth. The New York Times reports Subway's premium fan favorite tuna wasn't actually tuna. Truth, not true. What actually happened is that the New York Times commissioned a test that couldn't detect tuna DNA in their sample. According to scientific experts, this is not unusual when testing cooked tuna, and it absolutely doesn't mean the sample that was tested contained zero tuna. Now, obviously, that's the truth on their website. So, again, what I'll take just from their own truth box was that last part. Doesn't mean the sample that was tested contains zero tuna. So it seems like they're copping to they're obviously not saying this outright, but it seems like they're copping to the fact, yeah, it's not 100% tuna, but that doesn't mean that they had no tuna. So that's just how I look at it. Obviously, that's my perspective. Not saying you have to read it that way, but that's what kind of stands out. Because it seems to me that's going to be the point of this whole case. Probably is that they're claiming it's 100% tuna when there's potential evidence out there that it's not. And
yeah,
that's what the lawsuit's claiming false advertisement there. Whether it's like I said, whether they're ambulance chasing, whether it's legit or not, I, I don't know how much damage has to be had when it comes to false advertising. You know what I mean? But yeah, no, to your point, obviously somebody's going to. I'm not sure how somebody's going to prove they had a tuna sandwich other than keeping their receipt. Which I know people are out there that keep their receipts from stuff. I'm not sure who keeps their receipts from Subway, but that's just me. I don't know. I really hope that lawsuit wouldn't hinge on that for people. This may turn into a class action suit potentially, which I have to imagine there's going to be millions of people that have had Subway tuna. I I don't know what it's going to take to get your name thrown in there to prove it because hell, I can say I've had that tuna sandwich. How are they going to know? So so we'll see what happens with that.
yeah, yeah. I think the part that stands out to me is that not only do corporations need to be vigilant when it comes to um, basically protecting the brand, but if you can't just take this shit lying down. If you feel that basically the not so much the media, but the average person on social media specifically, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchats, the TikToks, all that shit, it just runs like wildfire. Like, do you remember Pizzagate?
I do not.
You remember the one psycho dude had brought an assault rifle to some random ass pizza parlor, thinking that Hillary Clinton was behind some massive sex trafficking ring.
That doesn't sound familiar, but I might have to look that up now. That sounds
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah. Well, yeah, it definitely worth a Google search. But clearly that was false. But you look at some of these conspiracy theorist people, and some of these people are relentless. And I'm not even saying that. Listen, I'm not a judge. Subway's going to have their day in the court. Same for this person that is taking this lawsuit to the next level. That will be decided at a later date. But I'm just talking generically. You can't just take this shit lying down. Otherwise, you're going to lose in the court of public opinion. It might come a point the shit won't even matter if it's tuna or not. So, those are my thoughts.
Yeah, no, always thank you for your thoughts, sir. Always appreciate that. I just still stick to the point of, and again, obviously I'm not, that big on Subway, so I'm not really gung ho about this or anything. But in general, I am always about, like I said earlier, people knowing what the hell's in your food. Know what you're eating. Now, if you don't care, then don't care. But at the same time, I think it is good to know that if you're going to put your money into something, that you know what you're paying for. Know what's in your food, know where it came from, know how it got to your plate. Because some people probably do care, clearly, by this lawsuit. Now, again, they might not have been physically damaged, but I'm guessing potentially that there's probably somebody who probably prides themselves potentially on eating things that are whole. Now while they're going to the Subway ordering food, who knows? But I'm guessing, again, not, I don't want to say devil's advocate, but just kind of playing that out here, erring on the side of this person, just kind of coming at them from this perspective that, why else would they do this? Besides, like you said, the ambulance chasing. If they are legit about this, that's probably why. Because probably they want to eat, if they're going to eat, tuna, they probably want to eat real tuna, whole tuna. Since this company said, hey, 100% tuna. So I'm like, okay, this is a place I know I can go, or I can believe I can go to get my 100%, fish flesh or whatever. So, and
I'm sorry.
I don't know. You gotta apologize. Go ahead. It was meant to be funny in a way, but it's the truth though too.
I had never heard of fish flesh before. So,
well, you know what I meant. So animal flesh, whatever you want to call it. But again, that's probably, again, if I wanted to, believe this person in their truthness of why they're doing it, that's what I would assume they're doing it, because they wanted to eat 100%, tuna, whatever you want to call it, and they're disappointed by it. And now, hey, look, here we are. So one last thing, and I'm going to go ahead and end it on my side of things. Just pointing out here on the Subway's website, again, the subwaytunafacts.com, they do mention somebody who they sought out to test their stuff. Leanne Applewhite, co-founder and president of Applied Food Technologies, Inc. She said recently in 2021, AFT tested over 150 pounds of Subway tuna salad, more than 50 individual tests / samples, and detected and identified tuna in every single sample. My professional opinion, which is confirmed by our testing, is that Subway tuna products are indeed tuna. So just want to put it out there, somebody who may be on Subway side, whatever, but there is someone who is an quote unquote testing expert who did say that they did find tuna in all of their samples. Again, not saying it's 100% tuna, but they found tuna in it. So there you go.
All right. That concludes our segment on the big tuna situation. Coming up next, we're going to start talking about the boys on Cal Park Bros.